This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Monday, October 30th. It is 4:05 p.m. and we are here for the finance meeting of October.
Public Works meeting.
That's our Public Works meeting. Sally messed me up. The Public Works meeting. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'll go home.
We have with us Adam Lefevre, Mike McKinnon, myself, Chad Insko, David Johnson, Sally Bennett, and soon Mary Gazian, but not present currently. Any conflicts of interest?
Not that I'm aware.
All right, moving on. I would like to see a motion to approve the minutes from September 26th.
I will make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I will second it.
All in favor? All right.
We didn't even get a chance for any questions.
Are there any questions?
No,
All right.
just trying to, just in case.
I appreciate it. No one has signed up for public comment. And moving on to our discussion, we have legal. Items 1 through 5. We do have a lot to talk about, but without Attorney Gaziano here, Chad, did you want to discuss any of these in particular?
The only one, and it was passed on to Mary and the board members as well, is the Verizon wireless lease agreement. The verbiage, the way that I read the letter, but I, of course, wanted the council and the attorney to weigh in. And when I forwarded the letter from the gentleman who had been calling, it did appear as they were only searching to reduce the cost. The closing portion of the letter basically stated that it had no bearing and wouldn't change our current lease terms. So it very much was that they were shopping and trying to get somebody to jump and discount
Okay, and
the rental charges. But again, I see Mary's on now, so I would definitely defer to her, but that's the way I interpreted it. But I did want to stand
That's
this.
kind of how I've interpreted it from the beginning. It looks like, I know that, they're trying to get both sides. They're pushing their prices up to their customers. They're trying to lower their cost of operating, and to me, it would be a kind of a long shot on their part. I mean, they were looking for that spot to close a gap in their system, and without that, they're gonna have to find someplace else. It doesn't seem, it does feel like a little bit of a fishing expedition, but, I guess if they had another alternative, they were gonna acquire less costly. It's, the gamble you take.
Mary, I appreciate you coming back here. We had some audio issues, that's why I kicked everybody out there. But welcome, and we jumped straight into the Verizon Wireless
Okay.
lease. And so the way that Chad and Mike had read this, they're just kind of seeing what's going on. I read it as, we've offered this to you. If you don't accept and you don't give us a return or some type of counteroffer, we're going to look elsewhere. Now, whether that be an empty threat or not, but that's how I read that email.
Well, I think, they're looking for some sort of response, but I think the letter did response is we're not interested in changing the rates at this time. Wasn't that what the closing of the last letter was?
Yes.
Yeah,
But
that's how I would see it as well. I mean, and I will look at that fine print again. Admittedly, I've been involved in some village administrator issues lately, but I just think, and I heard the commentary that was made when I came back on by both Chad and Trustee McKinnon, and I think, yeah, they're trying to look for the best of both worlds for them. But we've got a contract.
Is there, yes, we do.
Contracts are always, renegotiable, but, we're really, I guess my point of view would be is, we're not really interested in renegotiating.
Right,
and certainly
right.
not at a lower price. And, about the only thing that, I guess I would, be potentially willing to do, going forward is maybe slow down the rate of increase or whatever, but I don't see any reason for us to go backwards.
So with that being said, we've given our response. Is there anything else that we as the village or we as the Public Works Department or committee need to do at this point?
Again, I just reiterate that, that was loose interpretation from my reading. I forwarded it to all the trustees and did have it put on the agenda for tonight. So I want the trustees to decide an appropriate response. We did not respond to that.
Right.
To the most
For the
recent
last letter, and I do believe the verbiage falls in suit with everything we've said, but I've also let that party know who's chosen to address it to myself. It was in the first response that we're a municipality and all things have to go through board action, and that, from me, it would only go to the committee and the board. So I would put it in the legal counsel's hands to put out there to the full board at the next meeting if we need, if a response is warranted. And it did state in that letter as well, I didn't print it off, it is in the packet, but it did state in there that, failure to respond or sign means that you're denying the opportunity to reduce the amount of money you're getting paid. And then there was the snippet in there that said, however, this has no bearing on your current contract, and it'll remain unaffected, so.
Yeah, I would think it probably would be appropriate that we render a consensus at this committee of what we think the action is. And then, yes, it should be affirmed by the board because, it does, again, I guess what we call it a vendor or a supplier, I guess we're the supplier, we're supplying to them. So a customer is, requested a reconsideration of the existing contract. And, again, we loosely identified that we don't believe we are in favor of that. And we probably need to render a decision at this committee to carry to the board for affirmation.
So then I would entertain a motion, if everyone's agreeing here,
I just want to read this one more time here, just to refresh my memory from the October 16th letter here from Verizon. This is just probably confirmation with Chad on a phone call. So yeah, basically on their letter is if we go back to them with a no, or we do not respond at all, they're going to consider that we're not interested in renegotiating. It'll trigger you to evaluate alternate site locations. So again, I know when they came to us on that one, they had a void in their network. And even when we offered them the new tower, they specifically wanted the old tower. So, I'm not sure that, the cost for them to move, if they vacate that, they're gonna have to find some other place that's gonna do a similar service for them. And they're gonna have to take down their equipment, move all their equipment and reset up their equipment. My gut feeling is that doesn't seem very viable. Unless there was probably another commercial entity somewhere in the near village or whatever that was willing to provide that level of height or whatever that they could get. I don't fault them.
Yeah. Plus they have to restore anything that they disturbed in any way. So I don't see them doing that.
No, I think we've seen that from, customers and suppliers over the years or whatever, kind of a little bit of different situation. The customers would come back with a letter, effectively, we're stating our terms of payment to you as a supplier is 90 days. Well, no, our terms are what we work, but again, they're just going out there and they're figuring if they, do this to 200 people that, maybe 10 might give them a break or something like that. It's kind of a fishing expedition. And I guess my gut feeling is I don't see any reason to renegotiate.
Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to bring to the full board, to have Attorney Gaziano write a letter back to, a response back to Verizon saying, we appreciate you reaching out, we are going to keep our current terms. You're not willing to renegotiate.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second that.
Because this is dealing with money, I guess we'll do a roll call. Mike?
Yes.
And Adam?
Yes.
And Jeremy says yes as well. All right, so it'll be coming from committee to the full board at our next meeting. All right, Mary, we'll jump back to the rest of the legal here.
Okay.
Did we find out for the IGA with Wimber Sioux is the who owns the equipment?
I had talked with the attorney. He's now on vacation for the week, but he was going to verify a couple of different things. So I have it on it to talk to him next week when he's back.
Okay. How about Four Rivers? No. Yes.
Oh,
they're all no,
I'm
yes.
sorry. I said that backwards. I was talking about Four Rivers. I had jumped.
All right, perfect. How about IGA with Wind Pursuit then?
I do not have a determination on that, but I will figure that out this week.
I'll weigh in on the Four Rivers. One of the talking points for closing the property was, trading a single pen for both of their properties. And in conversation with their staff, their lead surveyor, they were moving forward in that direction to simplify things with the county and the recording office. Mary could probably speak more to that, but it was a question that was going back and forth, whether they needed to do it, should they do it? And then the conversation point that I had along the way while we were talking about a collapsed sewer main was that they were moving forward and creating one pen.
Are those two properties in their name now, or are they still?
The one is still a part of ours, they haven't.
So, I mean, if they're in our name, would they be able to do that, or do we have to do that?
Well, it's
I think
part of,
they
as
would.
soon as they get it in their name that they can create it. I think that they were getting the paperwork so that they had it all ready. As soon as that we have that closing, that they're then able to do that. I think
Okay,
that's
so
what
we would still transfer them two parcels of property, and once they became owner of it, they would combine it. So really, that doesn't
Impact us. at all.
impact us in
It
any way.
doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't, because we're transferring a parcel. They own a different parcel, and then they would be, but because they're contiguous, then they would combine.
Okay.
All right. Anything else regarding items 1 and 2? Anything new with the annexation for South Church and South Goodland, which I don't remember. I know there was addresses that were incorrect. Are those the correct addresses, or do we need to fix that in the agenda for moving forward?
I believe that I gotta look. I believe one of them is supposed to be 621. But I can talk to Kelly about that for future.
That's fine. I mean, at this point, you know what I'm discussing, and I'll just try to get it fixed for the next time.
Yep, okay.
Any new updates on that?
I do not have anything further other than what I had previously discussed with Kelly, but that's on for this week as well.
Okay.
So I should be able to report the next meeting.
Thank you. And the last, it's not necessarily Attorney Gaziano here, but the sidewalk and driveway permitting, we're still working on it along with the safe routes. No new updates in that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, it's not specifically related to permits, but David Drive, where there's been a lot of sidewalk work done on both sides, is that owner did them themselves? Or
We did those. We did those with the new
both sides
sidewalk.
of the street?
And
The one guy put in two new concrete driveways.
he had done that last year. He did that prior to us incentivizing.
Okay, but he did his driveways just recently and did the sidewalk, so it'd be the T intersection that goes to the cul-de-sac.
Yep.
Because I know
That was last year that he did those.
I don't think so, because I couldn't walk through the driveway because they had the yellow tape up.
Is this a new one?
Right at the corner.
Oh, no, you're talking about they had put new driveways.
Two new driveways, and
Yeah,
there's several
we-
blocks of
across
sidewalk.
We did the sidewalk.
Okay, we did.
They reached out to us last year when we were out of money. And we said, next year, it looks like there's gonna be more money, hit us up. And they asked to be, and they had failed, they were failed sidewalks as well. And we did both of those.
Okay.
But it predates the requiring the sidewalk to go through the driveway, which let them know that too, that if they held off another year, the sidewalk would be required most likely to go through the driveway.
Did they run the sidewalk?
Through the driveway. And I apologize, Ron
No, that's fine.
Gibson last year did 2 new concrete driveways and several sections of sidewalk.
And then I see there's some markings on the north side of that intersection Is that another one you got slated to,
Mhm.
you got a water box right there?
Yep, that's got, we have that on the list. We were hoping to get to that before weather got out of us, but
It came out of nowhere.
yeah, it's coming.
That's gonna get nice.
Yeah,
This weekend, Saturday, Sunday.
I'm leaving in 2 weeks for a trip down south, but I still had to go out this weekend and winterize it because I couldn't take the chance of the next 4 days.
20 degrees.
We'll bring some nice weather back when you come.
I'll try.
All right, moving on to projects then. The retainage for the 2023 road project.
So we did come to terms with Rock Road, what's the proper word? It's about $7,500 that our final bill is gonna be less. We got a credit of $7,500 for the low spot and the lack of crown. And in addition, while we were negotiating that difference, we added on the main brake patch on Cunningham Road, because the county was very adamant with our permit that we had like 45 days to get it. And we were going there every 2 days because it was in the accelerating lane. That really was about $3,500 in value, and we tacked that on in writing that they had to also complete that patch and reduce the contract price by $7,500. Frank signed that, and Rock Road is in the process of signing and then that project to be complete.
Okay.
Significantly under budget, by the way.
Is that blacktop work done or still to be done?
It's done.
That's done.
We tried to get him to do one more, but the price wasn't, that came in after the negotiation, and that price wasn't very admirable, so we'll be squeezing that in next week.
Timing's everything.
Yeah.
All right.
Then you get to take an item off your list.
Yes. Number 2. The IEPA loan funding for the pending water main upgrades.
Everything that's needs to happen is happening. It's in our Fairgrounds hands, but they're keeping us aloof. All the applications have happened. We're waiting for announcement. After going to Illinois Rural Water, they had some training with the EPA present. The legislatures are funding that. It's being pretty well funded. Last year, there was a lot of debt forgiveness. We don't know if there's gonna be that much this year, but some of the projects we're seeing up to 50% debt forgiveness. So fingers crossed that we are awarded that loan money and that we can aggressively get after that southwest corridor for water main upgrade.
Beautiful. Geospatial.
A lot is happening on the geospatial asset inventory, just a lot of in-house things, emails, Zoom meetings. They're using a lot of the Village of Winnebago, because we had clean streets and good shots when they were doing the drive-by. They had several technical difficulties getting it tied in with WinGIS. That was all on the county, but they've been working behind the scenes getting that. We've got a meeting Friday at 1 p.m. Over Zoom to get the latest update.
Beautiful. This is an exciting one, the Safe Routes for Schools.
The grant application is likewise all complete. The grant writers from Fairgraham have just kept us abreast of the timing. There was a lot of good support letters from the community, which is very helpful. Maybe the fact that it's got a cap on it, maybe there'll be more communities awarded. You know, this is one that we didn't spend a ton of money to go after, but it would be really good to see that
Absolutely.
come our way as well.
Do you have a general idea when they're supposed to make this decision?
They typically say May-ish,
Okay.
you know, or around May.
Sounds.
But we all remember the last 2 grants we went after, went over a year during COVID times of the award date, said next quarter. So, but May-ish is kind of no sooner than February. Is
Okay.
the best answer.
Perfect, and there's nothing else we need.
If that goes through, I mean, we've got all easements and everything through there, 'cause just looking at that pictures and everything, it looks like a mess.
It's a mess. That's why you put that kind of under the grant. You try to squeeze all the grant dollars out to straighten out the mess.
Does it appear you're gonna have to, in some cases,
Storm
run
sewer.
some drainage underneath the sidewalks? or
Storm sewer and changing some elevation and, but that again, that's part of the reason we chose that area.
Because of the grant, yeah. Anything else for number 4? All right, moving on to our last one, Clayton Court to Soper Water Main.
So that work has begun. The surveyors were out this last week and a little bit the week before. The survey work is basically done and now we'll start building the alignment that coincides with the best route. So well underway.
Beautiful. Okay, here we are. Jumping over to purchasing, always fun things here. Take it away however you want to, Chad.
Just in our vehicle depreciation schedule, we had couple of vehicles, couple of machine items, that were up. The loader, the skid loader and the tractor have been in the mix. And we flipped a coin, they both got pushed out of 22. We said, well, whatever it looks, because it's been so hard to get inventory, whatever has the better look is what we would get aggressive after. After going through the summer, talking with vendors, there were no skid loaders. The inflation rate on the skid loader is very substantial. The inflation rate on the tractor has kind of evened out a little bit. Measuring our needs at the moment, the tractor is the more immediate need. The resale value versus the trade-in value versus what we're starting to see to show up as gremlins in that piece of equipment is putting our choice at that. We had scheduled 70,000. We can trade in the Kubota and buy a little bit better unit, a Massey Ferguson, a little bit stouter, a little bit heavier, a little better transmission option, which we had problems while we were under warranty with the Kubota. We had to have it called the case split, the whole tractor gets split in half. The clutch packs had to be done, but we don't want to run into that again. But long story short, we're requesting committee approval. Less trade-in, it's $53,000.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right.
How old is that Kubota?
2012.
I guess it's 11 years and going on 12 by the time it all happened, so that thing's fly.
Yeah, it does.
Seems like just the other day we bought that.
It does.
It's also Kubota, so, I mean, you and I talked about it the other day, so.
Yeah, and our druthers were the Massey before, and by that size, we've got 3 that we can choose from right now, which is unbelievable. You can't find 3 skid loaders that you could afford and choose from.
And you use that for quite a bit it's got a front end loader on it.
Front end loader, snowplow adapter. This will allow us to put a box plow on it for helping with downtown and parking lots everybody's got the new quick catch style. But then we also use it a ton for mowing, ditch mowing, about half bat mowing, so.
All right, when would you be able to acquire that?
Well, they'll have them in, basically, if we buy it from Durand, AC McCartney, they would have it within 2 weeks, so.
And we're trading in, so we don't have to worry about selling it, so it'll go straight to them as well.
We would trade it in, definitely, for this application.
Any more discussion?
So that's a 23 budget item and we have room in the budget for that?
Yeah, we actually came in over, almost 50,000 under on the end loader under the budgeted amount. And we had budgeted for this and the truck that's coming.
And obviously that's to take it to the board for.
Correct, absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and take a vote then. Mike,
Yes.
Adam,
Yes.
and I say yes as well. So that is coming from committee, from account 5144951 to purchase we're going to work on the writing of this, the Maggie Ferguson.
Massey.
Massey, I was
Made
close.
double S.
Yeah.
And I guess to keep par with the direction we're headed, who's doing the resolution on it?
We're gonna ask Kelly to do it.
Kelly or Rachel?
or Rachel,
Follow
or
back.
request for help.
Resolution,
Just want to make sure it doesn't get overlooked, so we don't end up at the board meeting. without it.
100% we have, so nice job.
Yes.
Ford tractor, and I will follow up on, who does that one? Okay, any other capital equipment spending?
Not at this time.
Water meters,
We're inching along. The front office is doing a good job of working our scheduling in. We did get 2 shipments at once, so we basically have 30 through attrition. We're losing about 16 a month that are just going dead and everything. So we've been staying ahead of that. The vendor still can't give us confirmation on what we can get and when, but we are getting them and we're getting them in. So it's going well. The price did go up about the 8% that other things are going up. So we did recently see an increase on those.
Yeah, it is amazing when, with that application, when you have a house full of people and the next week when nobody's around, your water bill goes down 60%.
yeah,
I wish more people would use the app. I bet we have less than 30% installed that people use the app, but it's very useful for us. Very useful.
Oh, yeah, because you can
Oh,
detect
very useful for when the trouble calls come in, and we're in the infancy of it as everybody knowing it, but what we can see instantly for the whole system. I mean, other communities that don't have this, they're jealous.
It's nice knowing when you leave the garden hose on or something like that, or the kid will turn it on and not turn it off.
Well, you get immediate warning. I mean, I've never had the warning yet because I haven't had a leak, thankfully, and knock on.
What did we, well, Saturday at Scout Mountain Drive, we had a guy, he didn't have the smart meter, but he called 911 because his basement was flooding. And I left the Boy Scout Meadow Drive, rolled up at the same time as the fire department, had the water off before the fireman hit the door. And I'm like, I'm guessing that the meter or valve or, water softeners have some cheap fittings. But, we go down in there and it was just a leaky valve and he could have shut off. But he didn't know it's okay, but I mean, it had been leaking overnight and it was over.
And had you had this instead of.
Had he had that, he could have,
You'd have noted immediately.
Yep, so.
I don't know if it's usually, I know it's probably with like 12 hours. Because you got your normal usage, the
Well,
system's not comprehending, and it's just.
It all depends on how you set it.
Yeah, you can set it up, every 15 minutes, it is going to the cloud and doing this. You won't get it to the minute, but you will get it if it has constant flow, if you set it up, if you set it.
I didn't realize you could set up my.
Yeah, Mike had it too,
You
Mike had it too technical at one point, I think.
You can throw.
Water softeners running.
But play around with it, see how it works.
Yeah, so we talked to that guy, and he got it.
With the warmer temperatures we had over the last few months, I wish my electric meter was showing me down usage or whatever.
They don't do that.
I keep getting the things about how all my more efficient neighbors are so much better than me.
oh yeah, from your nest.
I think everybody gets it.
Yeah, I get that
I
one
think
too.
it's the same what everybody gets.
They pick the 3 houses in the village that are like guaranteed 400 square.
Everybody off your neighbor, here you are,
And I'm sitting there thinking, man, we hardly ever have a light on in this house.
everything's LED, so how is it?
And how can they be that much more efficient?
Okay.
All right, for the water meters, we didn't sign a large contract agreement for the price to stay.
No.
Okay, so we just have to keep going with it. Is that a possibility? Is that something we want to look at?
Yeah, if we want to buy them all outright before there's another price hike, we could do that.
What percentage completion are you at now, roughly?
We got about 720 in out of 1,240, so
60%.
Do you anticipate that the prices are going to continue to increase and it would be more beneficial for us to do this?
I think that they're gonna level like everything else, but I wish I could get a straight answer from the vendor. And I don't wanna buy them all at once, cause they're just gonna sit in the way, and the batteries are gonna get older, cause we can't, even if we could dedicate the whole workforce to doing it, people aren't gonna let us in the house that soon, so
So
I will talk to them, though, for moving, cause I think I did budget the rest out in 2024. So if we were gonna do that, we might as well just get them to not incur another price.
increase.
I will talk to the vendor. Shipping is another thing that they nab you on.
Well, it'd save us, right, if they shipped it all at once.
Right, I'm thinking,
Yeah, if they could get them all to you and they could ship them in, 3 or 4 shipments rather than 15, you'd probably be better off.
good point. I'm gonna find out.
Oh, right now, I don't remember seeing the construction funding report. That doesn't
Just
mean,
came in
did it? Okay.
about 20 minutes ago.
We're
I
just,
just emailed it a few minutes before the meeting. Sorry about that. I don't really have anything to report. It's been updated, but nothing out of the ordinary.
Were you able to track the big street project? Sally, did anything you have align with what I just said, or were we not to close out on that yet?
I was gonna check with Rachel because I wasn't sure if I had the correct payment, the final invoice. Have they sent an invoice?
I don't believe so. I believe it was all waiting on this, and this all just transpired, so
Okay.
we'll catch up with it tomorrow.
But it's good to know that I should be looking for those numbers in the final pay. So when I receive that, I'll make sure we get that going. And if it's approved by the board, I assume we'll have it before the board meeting, or do you know?
I was talking with Luke today, and he asked Rock Road for the final invoice this morning, and
Okay.
it was to reflect these reduced numbers. So he said he would let me know as well.
All right. And I guess, speaking of the construction report, Sullivan's is down to about 41 grand. We have one more month for the 2023 timeframes, because it goes from December to November. I did mention to Kent Dauphin, the accountant, that, we would still be interested in making a deal, and he did not respond. So I really don't think that they want to do that, and we can just let it play out. I just thought it was worth mentioning.
What's our anticipated track then to pay out for what month in 24?
I'm thinking it'll be May of 2024.
6 months.
That's exciting.
Well, yeah, I wrote it in my notes for when I was doing the budget because I'm like, well, where's that gonna land this year? Cut it in half.
Sounds great. Any other questions for construction report? Thank you, Sally. All right, before we jump to the 2024 budget, let's hit number 5 first. That's an easy one. The fire hydrant purchases.
Yeah, basically, past practice has been when we do our spring flush, we go through and rebuild any problematic hydrants, and then we notate those. When we hit the fall flush, we try to rebuild other ones. We have, I think we did 5 in the spring and 5 again in the fall, and we have 3 more that we can rebuild, but we got a couple of Kennedy K11s, which are well known to be the worst hydrant out there. We've rebuilt several and made them work fine, but these 2 are not coming around, so they really need to be replaced.
you don't have the cloud hydrants.
Clow or Eddie Val.
Clouds are worse. Those are the worst.
So we're Mueller down here, so we do have some. They actually over ordered for stock, and this is while it's still really expensive, it's very favorable pricing.
All right.
So that's 2 combined at 6,700?
Yes, yeah, that's not each.
I will make a motion to approve that expense.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion?
Well, I guess technically it's under your
It is, but we can bring it to the board anyway.
for affirmation acknowledgement.
All right. Adam,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and Jeremy says yes as well. So that will go before the board for final approval. Now, I believe the official word is if it's over my budget, that's when we do a resolution. Is that correct? Is that what we were going at?
I don't know.
Really, it doesn't need to go to the board, because it's under dollars. Correct?
Correct. It is under
So-
my,
It's more or less a board acknowledgement, what we've historically done.
just to let them know.
You're just, now you're just micromanaging everything, so if it's under what's been approved for stuff, it's all in his thing, so.
I see where you're coming at, and I agree. The real question, if we wait to the board meeting, do you want to have these purchased and installed before the board meeting?
I do.
Okay.
If it's at all possible, I'd like to
This
do
is,
it.
this is why we give them the power to make their purchases when they need to.
Well, it's not under, it's under,
It's under yours.
It's under Jeremy's, not under mine. Mine's
Correct.
$5,000.
So break your invoice up to 2 separate
Well, he
purchases.
just approved it. He's got the
So-
approval at $7,500.
so.
Yeah, I just didn't want to get cute. I mean, we've had to do it before, and there's been a couple times that things were getting too close to the limit, so I just wanted to put it out here.
The reason why I brought it up is that's the way it's been operating, and not to say it's gotta continue, but it is within his authority, so. I mean,
So,
And I like
because
discretionary spending.
technically we didn't say that I was bringing it to the board in the motion, correct?
We did not,
So we'll be good to go, and I will put it on the board as well, just to let them know.
just a heads up. It's
Yes, okay, so we're good.
done. I mean, we technically see that by the
Consent
invoice
decree.
report, but,
Okay. Anything in old business before we hit the budget?
His own business was at the IGA with the township. I lost my.
That's under legal too, for old business.
Yes.
well,
Well,
they're
well,
categorized under old business.
Yeah, old business, legal, A2.
Yes.
What's the discussion of the IGA between us and the township? What does that entail?
That's been there a long
I
time.
know, that's
A long
excellent.
time. Like,
So I
before I
guess,
started working
Probably
here,
trying to take some of the handshake agreements and get them
So-
formalized, so that way there, when there's changing of personnel, we know exactly.
okay, so what I'm leading into is Kelly this past spring, it's kind of old, I asked when I had the tour of the shop, she pulled the IGA out, and according to the way I understood it, and I'll take this as a grain of salt, it's been 6 months, but when she read it, the township owns our public works garage. And I don't know if Kelly or anybody's reached out to you, Mary, on seeing what you had for documents regarding to the public works facility and intergovernmental agreement we have with the township on it.
No one has, but I can certainly check. But you
Okay,
showed,
like I
what
said,
you
when-
think is that they own the,
So when she read it
Garage.
to me, she read it out loud, obviously to me on the phone, we both paused because the way we interpreted it is they own the public with the building down there that we're currently housing our equipment in. That,
Okay.
and then we will pay the insurance on that property and part of our agreement. So they own the building, the village is paying for the property insurance.
Who's the physical property owner?
the
So
village
that's,
is a property owner, and there's conflicting.
Well, that's why we need to try, that's,
And this has been going on since then. I mean, when you go back and look at the minutes, Kelly and I looked into it a little bit, and I think it was looked into when the treatment plant was gonna have to be built back, again, before my time in '06, but I think there's some conflicting documents out there, but the one that Kelly has, there's only one from 1986, and it's really, and then there's one that's not exactly aligned with that was signed by the parties. And I don't really like to speak the hearsay, but I know there's one somewhere that I had read, going through documents long ago that said, understand the village grew and became what it is, and when the village needed the building, it would revert to village ownership, but we can't find
So
those documents.
this is also, I guess, I mean, I don't know if I'm mixing old and new business, is if we're gonna talk about replacing the facilities down there,
we gotta get all.
we
that stuff
gotta
figured
know
out.
also, do our homework on who actually owns what and the
So,
IGA.
And that's the whole purpose that was on there, is there was a lot of information that wasn't clear that we realized we needed to try to clean up and understood. We just they haven't got to it.
So I guess my question is we gotta find our documents, legal documents that we have with the
Could-
IGA.
Can we just create a new IGA that supersedes any other previous documents and then have both parties sign as long as they're happy with
Well,
it?
yeah, but you're gonna have to get both sides to agree, and
that's gonna be tough.
and it would just help to have some of the old documents that we had it, so that way there, it's not an agreement, today, if we were in line with our thoughts, that'd be one thing, but if we're 180 degrees apart, we might need to rely on some of that old documentation.
Well, and also that if we don't know who owns the building, doesn't matter what you put in the agreement, but if the ownership is wrong, then there's a problem. So I've written down to contact Kelly about that, because apparently she's got some documentation. from
She
what
found
she-
some
One page.
document and that you wrote back in '86, because it was wrote by Barry Gaziano, because I laughed, because like, wow, she's been here. So I had me one of your first legal documents, but like I said, when she read it, we both kind of paused, went, they had the hesitation, I go, that sounds like they own the building, she goes, yes, it does.
Well, Jeremy, I think what needs to
So-
happen is because of the fact that this stuff needs to be cleaned up in advance of any upgrades of buildings, we probably need to take it out of old business or get it to be more active, I guess.
Yes. Bring it back.
Whatever the appropriate way is, we just need to heighten the priority of that.
So since we're in old business, and then we'll get to the budget here, is there anything in here that it's been here for so long, and we're like, why is it still here?
Just, some cases, just to not lose sight of it.
Correct, but is there, like, without a doubt, hey, this is done, we are. And if not, that's okay, we can leave everything else.
The downtown lots and parking, that was something that still, you had some. it wasn't-
Yeah, we were wanting to, once, everybody in the room's pretty aware that downtown was near, ghost town at one point, and then when it became more active later in the evening when we're plowing snow and stuff, we had talked about getting some signage that reflected that there was no parking after certain time limits and snowfalls, which the whole town is under that ordinance, but we had, put it to committee for discussion a time or two, to see if we wanted to dedicate a snow lot. It was a ticket-free, parking area for snow times. And we didn't gain all the traction and got busy with a lot of other things, but that's why it's still.
Is there usually cars down here after 2 o'clock in the morning?
Now there is, yeah.
Is there?
And two is enough to make it a hindrance really for what we got going on. But it's-
we had the same deal.
What we have is there's about 4, 5 that are due to the establishments. And then because the new people, there's several overhead rentals down there. They see cars there, then they're parked there. And even if you have a dead night at the establishments, the people that live there, that do have off-street parking off of both alleys. It's just, no, the city doesn't plow that. So they park where the city plows and then literally they'll move their car over one spot. And we don't even have room to move
Well,
to get it
I
cleared
guess-
out. And
I guess if you ever got into a jam, you still have the existing snow ordinance,
yeah, we could have them ticketed and then
Would we,
towed, but it's a good point for discussion to still consider signage.
do we wanna bring that up at the next meeting as we're getting closer?
Sure. I like that plan. It just said, it lost its
well, there's just
value in line.
other priorities.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Now, let's jump back to the budget.
Oh, boy.
That's why I saved that one to the end there. Did you want to, so you have a tentative budget here. Did you want to talk a little bit about things that were changing in comparison to last year?
Is the budget even on the agenda?
Yes, budget 2024, it's under
Capital improvement, whatever it is.
purchasing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
because I was gonna either put it there under development /
okay, no problem, I'm just trying to, that's it, no.
Really, the biggies are, the consideration for the street project, which is usually the biggest money spent. In our long-term plan, we had hitting Elida Street overlay, crack fill and striping for 2024. In the meantime, We've got the Meadows was gonna be in 2025. And the Meadows is really, it had gotten, some work done, but we've got tons of sidewalk imperfections in there, 2-inch and larger offsets, and tons of failed concrete curb and gutter, particularly in everybody's driveway. I walked it this morning with Luke, we measured it all out. I didn't get his report before the meeting because we were gonna have some quantities. Basically 30% of the sidewalk existing is failed, and from Winges, we had both highballed it at the 30% curb and gutter failed, and then we're gonna do a core measurement, but we would like to flip flop. And for another reason, the major highway construction, which Elida basically is, has increased substantially, so we need another year of fund building to build up, to take care of that in 25. And ancillary, the Safe Routes to School project, if that happens in 24, it ties into the Meadow subdivision. So it would make common sense to have our,
Mobilization.
yes, our mob fees and getting a big contractor. And then we would do that with an MFT project, and we would do it, this is the buzzword for IDOT, it's called Complete the Streets. They're starting to talk about not allowing MFT projects to go if you're not completing the whole right-of-way to right-of-way. You've got to address your sidewalk imperfections due to ADA regs. You've got to address your curb and gutter failures and drainage. So we've chosen to request that be the 2024 project area.
Okay.
You know, the hope is the Safe Routes schools, there's no guarantee on that. But even if that doesn't happen, that was still gonna be 2025 project, so we're looking to skip those. And that would be basically an MFT project. Our target, when I talked to the engineering, we like to stay below 275 with engineering, 275K, but with MFT, everything goes up a little bit. So we're thinking to try to stay under $300,000 project. And what's really gonna drive that up is those lineal footage of curb and gutters. It's exceeding.
Just, I mean, not that you could do anything about it, but, you know, is the deterioration more age or subpar construction or?
It's a combination of the two. You can tell in that subdivision, the homeowners, the builder was required to do the sidewalk. So like 50% of them have no failure at all in the integrity of the concrete. Some of them are trench settling failures, but we had like 20%. It was just bad concrete, bad finishing, popping, exploding, maybe over salting, but it wasn't all done at once. And likewise, if you go up there, Luke got pictures and everything today, so that we can do a little better presentation. But half of the curb and gutter, it was all fully poured. Well, half of it was just busted out with sledgehammers. So it's all busted up and it's broken, and the ice and salt's gotten in there. And there's tons of settling where the water sits. So this project, we were gonna look at, you know, a full gambit of improving the neighborhood. So we did the rough look at that, we walked it, we did measurements, you know, people are gonna be asking because there's paint on the curb and gutter and paint in the sidewalks, but yeah, we're planning for next year. But that is gonna change some of the game there for how we've historically done our street project and our MFT. So next year, we're planning to do an MFT project. And I did not address that in this budget. There's separate MFT. I was hoping that I was all last week, we were trying to get out here and they just couldn't get here till today. And he thought he might have rough numbers, but we don't have them today, so.
What would it take for our guys to do the sidewalk repairs yourself in-house?
I have no issue with trying to do that.
Probably one of the easiest flat works to do is
Right,
sidewalk.
we already do any sidewalk job, we're doing 75% of it anyway. We're doing removal, we're doing the stoning, we can definitely do the setting the forms. Jimmy's the most experienced with finishing.
Like I said,
And-
sidewalk is the easiest
Yep.
because you can get to both sides of it.
As long as it's finished appropriately, I have no issue, and that isn't, this was the first year that we funded the sidewalk program, and had I not been on hiatus, we would have tried 2 or 3 of the projects that we did this year in-house. We did it ourselves in Stillman, so we don't have an issue, and that is something to consider over there, because it'd be very expensive. I mean, you're talking $13 a square foot for sidewalk.
Paying somebody to do it.
To basically
Absolutely,
do
that's
that.
why I'm asking.
And we could strip that out and take and have it be, that could be our trial run. Again, I wanted the numbers for that, and back in 2012, when we did, our MFT work then, we spent $150,000 on doing the ADA ramps all over town where we already had curb gutter. So 80% of the ADA ramps already done and good to go. This is mostly, there's even a couple spots where it's 1 square just went to act. And there's spots there's 30 feet, that's bad. There's 2 spots that's
And
basically.
I guess my next question is, can we also look at, instead of replacing the concrete, I know we can grind them out or get some grind.
We actually hit some spots that would be grinding, and we talked to a couple of the foam people, we did that trial, we've seen it be successful, we would like to try that. I had pitched that to them this year, they were just too busy.
Yep.
I don't think I said to Jim, I think I said to my brother, I'm like, you need to find how to buy one of the machines.
Well, that's the thing, I don't know what's.
Jacking perfectly good, and we do, Greenlee, Resch, and this one. 70% of what we have to replace that's not failed concrete, that's the settling and stuff, that could be jacked with the foam system.
Well, that's right, I guess, or grind the lip down a little bit. So it's not
Yeah,
between
So, great, the excellent things to talk about as we get closer to actually approving the project. I'm just looking for a quick rundown of the different budgets, just so we all know, so we can move forward with the budget plan.
We gotta be out of here for
5:30.
Okay,
So we have about a half hour.
so we do have, equipment will be a little softer for next year. But there's notes in, well, I don't think you got them in that budget, but I have notes for the equipment. It's basically a service truck, the skid loader, and there was, I think that was it. The big equipment was the service truck, which would be replacing my truck with a utility box with a crane, situation, and then the skid loader would be back on the docket.
Which is, we switched this year with the tractor.
We had both of those
Okay.
actually in, but with buying the loader and everything, we didn't want to spend all that money, and we couldn't find a skid loader we wanted. They don't, post-COVID hasn't altogether happened. So the equipment will be a little less. The big street project we just talked about. Again, we're gonna budget the same with our, regular funds for street project, because we'll need ancillary dollars to help with the safe routes to schools. Like, they're gonna take care of that project, but we might have to go into a radius or something, or tie in for the next run. And then likewise, if we're awarded the EPA loan money to do all that work on the Southwest Corridor, EPA gets real strict on how much roadway they'll replace in the loan. So we might have a whole block that we've gotta blow apart, and we'll need some like money to put that back.
For
So.
example, if you run the water main down the right side of the street and you ain't got your curb and gutter, they will not pay to fix everything on the other side.
That's correct.
I know this because you go to drive through Freeport, and
You got half of
a
it.
nice brand new gutter over here,
And nothing.
can't see it over here because the 5 layers of asphalt went to the top.
So you'll see, we're still gonna fund 100% without an assignment.
Okay.
And that's why, that's ancillary funds to either, it all depends on if the grant comes and at what time the EPA grant comes. So that's in the budgeting plan. The biggest one, we're budgeting for a body, for another full-time individual. The rough number at the budget is an average of our maintenance 1 and 2 of Cody and Brian. We took those two, we averaged them, not knowing if the candidate would have a family or not a family. I not expecting to do it day 1 in January or anything. It's got a lot of Jim's progression plans in there that we start planning for it, and it may not even happen. It's hard to find help. But we inserted it in the budget to balance what the cost was going to be in there. And we did split it the exact same way we already do the maintenance 1 and 2. It is split between O&M and general, but it is in there as a
Streets and.
one thing that hasn't happened with some of the discussion on Rock 39 is I will be having to sit down with them and discussing how much they've grown and where we think things align. Again, the last time we talked about that, we decided to stay the course because the value, we need to see where they're at. There's some things going on there that they're growing continuously. So that number could change and the need for that could change as
Okay.
well.
And the only other item I remember from what I saw, what we had discussed, is the overall increase of products in general. And services and all of that. What was it? It was some large.
Well, I was collecting some data from some of our folks, and some was coming, actually, like what I was talking to Rachel about, our vendor for our lab work. They bought all the competition. We used to have 4 or 5 opportunities to get good lab work, and now there's none. It's them or the EPA. And when you go with the EPA program, it costs more, they outsource it, they hit you with higher fees along the way, and you have to postage and send and mail everything, you don't get a courier. So we're going to UPS and FedEx and Coolers, and it's a nuisance and it's no less money. However, the labs are putting minimum fees that we used to have $15 are now $105. And they said their increase rate at basically 7%. They said their inflationary rate was 6.9. I asked the Blacktop people, they wouldn't give me a hardcore one, but we were seeing 15% plus. Most of our commodities, water fittings, brass fittings, water main break clamps, water main piping, we're still seeing an excess of 25% increase, 25 to 40% increase. We were talking with a vendor today on some of the machinery stuff. They said that's leveling out, but it went nuts for 2 years. So it won't slide.
It won't come back to where it was.
It won't come back to where it was, but holding that 40%. But as I did the budget, there's a lot of things that you'll see greater than 10%, because that's reflective of what we were seeing. A lot of things we averaged out at 15% increases. I didn't raise anything 40%, but it's not unreasonable that some things might hit that, particularly our water projects. But again, going with the loan funding, we're gonna see it in a different way, so.
The only other question I had, and then I'll open it up here, we had discussed and we've talked about this for years now, I'm gonna call it a UTV. Whatever we wanna call it here, for maintenance of the Prairie Path and your other activities here we discussed with police, without police. Is that something that you were still wanting to consider? And
Yeah, and I didn't put it in the budget, so thank you, Jeremy, for.
okay,
We're 100% in favor, and you and I have spoke with the legalization of the UTVs. It's gonna be something people are gonna see, but we presented it years ago. The police wanted to police the bike path. We maintain the path. We pick up garbage, we cut trees, we fix signs, we take gravel out there, and people with strollers and bicycles don't wanna see the 1-ton dump truck going down the path.
Nah, gators were great for that stuff.
And we would like.
Just from past practice.
Yeah, we would like to have a utility vehicle for that practice. The pitch that I made back when Todd was here was Monday and Friday. We would like to have it for a sweep of the 14-mile loop of the path, and we pick up our trash, debris, whatever. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, the police department could then use it, and they could run the path for policing, just so people know there's a presence out there, that they're not, if they are out there on a UTV or motorcycle, they got somebody that, can go off-road and catch them, and that they're also present. It was very near happening. I don't remember exactly what happened, but it didn't happen. But absolutely, I would like to put that into the budget request for 2020.
Well, the other thing too is if that ever came to being and they're on, the mid part of the week and the weekends, and you got Public Works who's doing work out there, that still creates a visibility of
Of a public presence, and.
Because I remember we had talked before about getting magnets where they could throw the magnet police on the side and they take off when Public Works is using it.
Problem is, that they're all made out of plastics, you know what I mean? But anyways.
Well, yes, I know.
But go for it, because
Yeah.
you know, out of Pasteurize, we had gators, we could put a water tank in that, we had
Well,
spray booms you
yes.
could put on it.
For
You would put the kids out with weed eaters, go drive around the park and go weed eat around the trees, guess what they went at?
Well, that's another thing, we're dragging the ball
They-
diamonds with
they
lawnmowers and it's
Took
destroying
a
the
gator,
lawnmowers.
you know, the ball diamond, we had an old
Okay.
John Deere tractor on lower deck and we drove that
Now,
around.
the school district and the park district both have them.
Yes,
and they have much
that's what- I use
less,
them all the time.
much less real estate than we do.
So my question to you, definitely get it added, are you wanting to propose it straight out of Public Works? Or are you wanting to try to split with police?
If we're gonna share it, I'd wanna split it. If we're not sharing it, then absolutely.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you want one regardless, and
Right.
if the police want to share it, that's even better, because then it's not as much out of the one budget.
Right,
Split 50-50.
right.
I'm saying.
And if they don't feel they have a need, I still,
Perfect,
they have a need.
so throw it on the street side, because it's still general.
Right.
All right, is there anything else, obviously, we're gonna, as finance, we're gonna put the budget, look at it all, and of course, nothing's gonna line up, but I appreciate you telling us.
I did talk to Frank this morning briefly, and I talked to Chad briefly this morning. We've been talking about, new facility for down at the Public Works Scratch. I put a bug in Frank's ear, we probably should do something in 2024 for architectural design. And I suggested using the hail damage funds to start that project. Obviously, that's still probably a five-year outlook. But in order to know what a full price of the project's gonna cost, we need some type of architectural design or to start somewhere. So I think he's gonna be approaching finance and whatnot about using some of that money towards a bigger project. Because hail damage is to improve Public Works facility buildings. Well, we talked about replacing them, so just get a design work done, and he doesn't have a clue how much it's gonna cost. It looked like there's $140-some thousand there. So,
All right, thank you. Any new business? Hearing none, our next scheduled meeting that I see is November 29th. That's a Wednesday at 4 o'clock.
That's some exciting news. And Illinois Water, I got my 2024 calendar, so.
Oh, nice.
If you wanna plan out to 2024, I can do it.
24, 25, 26, 27.
yeah,
That all runs together, man.
I don't think much of 2025 here until we meetings at 10, unless you're gonna plan to stick
I've got
around.
things 3-5 years out on, although I'm not sure if I'll still be working 3 to 5 years out.
And to quickly go over the meeting once over, we're bringing the plowing signage and the Public Works and Township IGA back into current business.
Yep.
Things we're bringing to the board is the not decreasing from Verizon, the tractor purchase, the final invoice from Rock Road, and the fire hydrants, as just to let them know. And follow-up actions, we have the Attorney Gaziano, the IGA with Lynn Sioux, the Public Works IGA with the Township, and the Four Rivers IGA. I need to follow up on who is writing this resolution for the tractor, and you are going to contact the water meter people to see if we can purchase it all one lump sum without being charged more and shipping
Shipping and
costs.
everything else.
Is there anything I missed in that
Or
summary?
at least get some type of a fixed rate agreement.
Right.
Hearing nothing, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I will second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Oh, yeah, we still gotta go fix stuff.
All right, well, great work, everybody. Thank you for coming. Have a wonderful rest of your day. It is 5:09.